For more information, connect with us via email at info@ita.gov.jm or on social media at Island Traffic Authority.
So who keeps our taxpayer money in check? Well, the PAC and PAAC help watch over the country's budget. And one might sound like it just have an extra A, but they're way different. Here's how. The PAAC and PAC are two committees that watch the money. The Public Accounts Committee reviews government projects after them close. They do a post-audit check to see what problems arose with the costs and call officials to explain decisions that cause budget mismanagement. And then they recommend corrective action, so the problem will happen from when, not happen again. But what about the money we are spending right now, the PAAC? That's how Public Administration and Appropriations Committee pretty much means how your money will protect as it happen, we check. While projects go on, things are accurate. As government spend the nation's budget, PAAC reviews it. They examine proposals and summon officials to find problems before them don't use it. So the PAC and PAAC are two parliamentary committees that watch over the country's wallet to protect the budget and keep it in check. And you can get involved. Just visit jampja.org.
Motorists, as Minister of Justice, I appeal to you, obey the road code, pay your ticket on time, and only go to court if the ticket is being contested. Close to 80% of matters coming to the parish courts are for traffic breaches. Let's work together to make our roads safe and ease the burden on our courts.
Cook it up and make we steam it. Fresh so me need it, tilapia a real fish. Cook it up and make we roast it. Farm fresh so me need it, tilapia a real fish. Grow smart at the best part. Food for thought so me have to eat smart. Easy catch, fully net. A tilapia so you don't know what's next. Cook it up and make we fry it. Fresh so me need it, tilapia a real fish. Bring home the best in freshwater fish. High content of vitamin B3, protein and potassium. Tilapia, simple, healthy, delicious.
Na 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 na, we want a piece for Jamaica. Yeah yeah, we have to be our brother's keeper. Yeah yeah, Jamaica live good, yeah. I make we enjoy life, what we feel safe at night. Jamaica live good. I better you and I no say we future bright. Jamaica live good. Come together as one and make the violence the world.
Overtake and bring back everything.
Bask in the awesome Word of God and the life-changing experience of fellowship. Bask in the revival time, 8 a.m. on Sundays, right here on the People's Station.
Each year, the Jamaican Parliament approves billions in tax dollars to buy goods and services for Jamaicans. Awarding contracts to private companies to provide public goods and services is called public procurement, and it is a major hotspot for corruption. Can citizens spot the red flags in public procurement and help the government protect our taxes? Yes, they can, and here are 6 to watch for. Direct contracting. When contracts are frequently awarded to one supplier without other companies competing to offer a better price and quality, we usually end up paying more and getting less. Contract splintering. Big projects need big money and higher level approvals. But if the contract is cut up into smaller ones, it won't need external approval from offices like the Public Procurement Commission or Cabinet. This makes it easier for contracts to avoid additional scrutiny. Timing of advertisements. Contracts advertised during distracting periods like the holidays can result in less competition and a really strong advantage for the favored company. Like Christmas time, work slows down and companies are less attentive to business opportunities. Emergency contracting. Claiming emergencies allows officials to legally bypass normal procurement rules, making it easier to award contracts to favored companies. Contract timing. Contracts awarded just before or after election can be payback for campaign support and not based on what Jamaicans really need. Collusion. And what if penalties are not enforced when work is poorly done? This could be a contractor and public official working together for private benefit. And if it is, this is collusion. These flags do not prove corruption, but they trigger questions that citizens must ask. So mind your business, Jamaica. Visit the JAMP Procurement Tracker to monitor government contracts. If you spot these flags, use our ATI tool to ask questions and demand accountability.
We want a piece for Jamaica. Yo, what are you? Oh, man, none of that. Yo, no, brother, no, man.
You see you ever play ref? Dirty game,
Yeah,
man,
but
play.
like a bad game. No, I said, place you come from, brother, I want to live good, man. I want to live good, brethren. No shake hand, I can play like a bad, brethren.
Really have to shake hand?
Yeah, man, and no badness, brethren. Just live good, man.
That's it.
Come together as one and make the violence done.
Are you an entrepreneur producing an excellent Jamaican product or service? Did you know you can earn hard currency and more significant returns by exporting? Contact the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce to help propel your business along the export lane.
Everything you can produce, the Jamaicans overseas want it. We're not going to get rich by just bringing down the debt. We're going to get rich by exporting a lot more. So grow exports, create job opportunities, drive economic growth through exports to make Jamaica a richer and much more prosperous country.
Do your part to prevent mosquito breeding. Mosquitoes will breed in any container that holds water.
Tightly cover water storage containers such as drums, barrels, buckets and tanks. If this cannot be done, pour cooking oil on the water surface. Punch holes in all tins, plastics and beverage boxes to prevent the collection of water before disposal. Cover all tires or fill with dirt to prevent water collection. Scrub all vases once per week to remove mosquito eggs. Use mosquito repellents to protect yourself from mosquito bites. Dispose of garbage properly by placing in plastic bags and securing properly to prevent water collection.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Dengue is ordinarily a mild disease. Persons may get a fever, headache, joint and muscle pains. The illness is often resolved through rest and adequate hydration along with paracetamol to treat the accompanying fever. However, on occasions the illness can progress to severe dengue, which can result in organ failure, bleeding and severe fluid depletion that can lead to shock and even death. Therefore, it is important for persons who are experiencing fever, vomiting, severe abdominal pain, bleeding under the skin, feeling very weak, or getting confused to seek immediate attention. Let us work together to protect ourselves against dengue.
Do you wish there were a way your community could get funding to improve a school, health center, sports program, and more? There is! It's the Constituency Development Fund. Here are a few things you probably didn't know about the CDF and how you can make it work better for you. The CDF policy promotes citizen participation in community development and protection of taxpayers' funds. It outlines that MPs are to meet with citizens at least once every 2 years to agree on the projects needed. You know, it used to be once a year? We should really go back to that. Projects developed without community consultation are not to be approved by the bipartisan CDF Parliamentary Committee. There are 26 government agencies that implement projects, usually for a small fee. Funds are provided directly from the Office of the Prime Minister to the implementing agency, not through the Member of Parliament. The CDF unit monitors project costs and implementation, so if you have questions about how the CDF are run in your community, contact them. To ensure no one project or community gets all the funds, there are 6 project categories with spending limits for each. There must be no less than 5 and no more than 20 projects each year. To learn more, visit jampja.org to view your MP's CDF info and tell them how this fund has impacted you. If you don't see your MP CDF reports, then put them under little pressure, man. Call, tweet, email. Ask them when they'll submit it and when is the next CDF meeting. Change is possible. It's already happening. What we need is you.
A message from the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, funded by the European Union and the Inter-American Development Bank in partnership with the private sector organization of Jamaica.
Jamaica, I can help you protect our citizens.
Jamaica Eye will play a part in increasing your public safety.
Jamaica Eye is part of an island-wide network of camera surveillance systems designed to increase the safety of you, our citizens. If you have a camera system outside your home or office facing a public space, log on to jamaicaeye.gov.jm today. Jamaica Eye, we're all connected. The Ministry of National Security, creating a safer and prosperous Jamaica.
The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
To fight crime and violence in your country, your government has invested over $9.7 billion into national security systems. This includes the construction and renovation of dozens of police stations, the acquisition of critical security equipment such as patrol vessels and police vehicles, the recruitment and training of more police officers, and the build-out of the Jamaica Defense Force. Your government is investing in your safety. We are building Jamaica.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister. The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Jamaica is changing right before our very eyes. Across the island, billions are being invested into our road networks, from farm and community roads to major roads and highways. Dozens of communities across the length and breadth of Jamaica are receiving access to reliable potable water for the very first time. And thousands of Jamaicans have become homeowners thanks to the historic shifts in policies of the National Housing Trust, making it easier for Jamaicans to receive funding. Not to mention the record number of houses being built. Never dreamed you would own a home? No matter your circumstance, home ownership is possible for you, thanks to the government's new social housing program specially designed to meet the needs of poor Jamaicans at no cost to them. We are building Jamaica.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Send the something and come back. Back to sender! God, I thank you so much.
Miracles await and miracles abound. Tune in every Sunday at 7 a.m. for your share of the Miracle Revival Hour with Reverend Dr. Blair. Come for the word, stay for the worship. Right here on PBCJ.
Miracle worker, work one for me.
Most Jamaicans will tell you corruption in politics is deep-rooted, and I just saw it set, and nothing can do about that. But actually, there is, and another 152 countries are doing it. It's called asset declaration, and it works best where citizens themselves understand it and help to ensure the law is enforced. Corruption happens when public officials abuse their power to benefit themselves, family, or associates. Jamaica's Integrity Commission Act was designed to prevent corruption, and here are 5 things you should know. 1. Under this law, every year MPs and senators must report what they earn, own, and owe, and if they don't, they'll be sanctioned. 2. Their report must include the same kind of information for their wife or husband and children. 3. If they get a gift worth more than $100,000 from anyone who's not family, they must declare it. 4. A summary of the declarations of our Prime Minister and opposition leader must be published where the public can read it. 5. Parliamentarians can now be prosecuted by the Integrity Commission. They can be fined up to $2 million or serve up to 2 years in prison if they don't file the declaration or if they give false information, and $500,000 for not filing on time or ignoring requests for information. Unfortunately, our parliamentarians made changes that prevent the public from knowing when they've broken the law or when they're being investigated. We really need to change that. Visit jampja.org to find out more about the act and to track if your MP is obeying this law.
If they're not, JAMP's MP Tracker will help you write, tweet, or call your MP. Ask them, you submit your declaration yet? The Integrity Commission clear you? Let's help the Parliament stay honest. A message from the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, funded by the European Union and the Inter-American Development Bank in partnership with the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica.
The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Your government is empowering you through education, training, and development. That is why we have removed all fees for every Jamaican accessing training through the Heart NSTA Trust. So, whatever you desire training in, food and hospitality, beauty and cosmetology, housekeeping and hotel management, welding, carpentry, masonry, or any of the dozens of programs Heart offers, you can enroll completely free and change your life. We are building Jamaica.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
What can a little germs do?
Pink eye running belly, even flu. Germs can make them happen.
Is another post-cabinet press briefing, and today is Wednesday, June 24, and it's a really good day when you see the two ministers that we have with us this morning. And so it's a pleasure for me to have in the audience today and our guests, the Honorable Edmund Bartlett, our Minister of Tourism, the best tourism minister anywhere in the world. And it's always such a wonderful honor to have him here this morning. Also, the Honorable Matthew Samuda, Minister of Water, Environment and Climate Change, Mr. Climate Change himself, leading the global movement towards climate change. He is a world leader in that sense. And so it's good to have both of them here. We're off to a little bit of a late start, and I tell you a little bit about our cabinet. So we usually have a little meeting before post-cab starts. And this morning, Minister Samuda and I were able to be sitting at the feet of Minister Bartlett, and he was giving us a political history class and helping us to understand politics, how we got here, what we need to do going forward as a country. That's the nature of our cabinet. And that's why I'm always, feel so privileged to be a part of this group. You have those who've been there for a while and who have led so wonderfully here and around the world, taking the time to help to direct us who are newer at this game. And so that was really very wonderful this morning, and so that's why we are late. We were getting schooled. Also, I have to acknowledge the others who are here, Dr. Kassan Troop, Permanent Secretary, and I'm sorry, other ministers, the best ministry, the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information. Ms. Jennifer Griffith, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, a really wonderful PS also. When I was a young public servant, she was always so kind to me, and I've never forgotten how kind you were, and so it's really nice to have you here, PS Griffith. Also, one of the, real rising star PSs also, we have Mr. Wayne Robertson with us, who's Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Water, Environment and Climate Change. We also have Donovan White, our Director of Tourism, Dr. Kerry Wallace, Executive Director of the Tourism Enhancement Fund. We have senior technical staff from all of the ministries represented here. We also have student leaders from the UE Guild and UTech Students Union, and also CMU's union. And as always, I say good morning to the members of the media who are here, and of course, Jamaicans watching at home and abroad. We are going to get straight into it this morning. We're going to be starting off with the wonderful Minister of Water, Environment and Climate Change, who remembers the map and every single water system that exists in Jamaica. He knows them and he can just reel them off. I don't know how he does it, what he does at night. He studies all of this stuff, but he is absolutely amazing. Always great to hear him speak and to show you that he really has full command over his portfolio. So please join me in welcoming the Honorable Matthew Samuda.
Thank you, colleague Minister, the Honourable Dana Dixon. It's also a pleasure to join a colleague, friend, mentor in Minister Ed Bartlett, and of course, welcome to PS's heads of agencies, team members. It's a good collection you have here this morning, Minister Dixon, of very solid public servants who do yeoman service for Jamaica. This morning, I'm here with PS Wayne Robertson to officially update the country that Jamaica has been selected to host the Our Oceans Conference, the 13th edition of same, in Montego Bay in 2029. We are likely to host it in June, final date to be announced. Now, for those who may not be familiar with what the Our Oceans Conference is, it is the largest conference that deals with ocean protection and the blue economy outside of the UN Ocean Conference. We expect at a minimum to host in Jamaica in excess of 5,000 delegates. We would expect no less than a dozen world leaders and approximately 50 delegations which would be led at the ministerial level. This is a major event that establishes Jamaica's thought leadership on the issue of marine protection and the issue of developing a sustainable blue economy. It validates a lot of the work that Jamaica has been doing in tourism, in fisheries, in shipping and logistics, and of course our work in environmental protection. But why Montego Bay? Well, A, it's beautiful. B, it has sufficient room stock. Additionally, it also has the convention center. But why Montego Bay for an Oceans Conference? Well, for those of you who are not familiar with it, the UN Law of the Sea was actually accepted and came into being in Montego Bay. So Montego Bay, Jamaica, has always been the center of ocean governance, and we re-establish it as such in 2029. There will be significant updates that will come over the period. Over the next year, we will establish our planning secretariat, but we will keep you up to date as we move forward with the planning of this significant global event in Jamaica. Last week, I had the privilege of representing Jamaica at Our Oceans 11 in Mombasa, Kenya. And while present, I wish to provide an update on 5 matters that should occupy the attention of members of the media here. Firstly, Jamaica had the opportunity to sign and join the Caribbean Ocean Coordination Mechanism. This is a mechanism that shares the burden of environmental management of our shared Caribbean Sea. This is a mechanism which is anchored by UNEP, and we will send out the respective details, but it is something that puts Jamaica in a leadership position to manage a lot of the issues that face Caribbean nations. We also had the opportunity to join and sign the Ocean Acidification Alliance. This is an alliance of scientists that are specifically focused on the issue of ocean acidification, which is critical to the health of our coral reefs, which is critical to the health of our reefs, which is critical to fisheries and indeed to tourism. We also joined what is called the Action in Blue Regional Network, which is focused on coordinating the protection of 30% of the Caribbean Sea. That is something that Jamaica would have lobbied for from as far back as 2015, when Jamaica joined what is called the High Ambition Coalition for Nature, which led the way in calling for 30% protection of our marine environment. And finally, Jamaica also joined what is called the Mangrove Breakthrough, which is managed by an alliance which is chaired by Colombia and Jamaica in understanding its need for support in protecting its mangroves, especially along the south coast where we are exposed to heavy storm surge in times of storms and have low coastal defenses, has joined this breakthrough and will be working with partner nations and institutions to ensure that we step up our work in mangrove protection and indeed restoration. While there, I also had the benefit of a bilateral meeting with the Green Climate Fund. And to note, they're also here currently in Jamaica for a technical mission. And while there, it was announced that Jamaica was approved for an additional $2.1 million grant being managed by the 5Cs, which is the CARICOM unit that manages climate change, to assist Jamaica with getting projects ready for submission for significant grant funding. This project, the specific name of it is the strengthening of Jamaica's climate response mechanism. But this works with the DBJ, the Ministry of Finance, the PIOJ, and indeed JSIF to ensure that we have projects which are ready, that can be funded, and we have the right projects queued up. So last week was a busy week for environmental action and indeed ocean action in Jamaica, and I thought it important just to give you that brief update this morning. I do have also the benefit, just for a few more minutes, I won't take up too much of your time, Minister, but ahead of your presentation. But I would like to spend a moment just to deal with 3 matters raised in the Parliament yesterday by the opposition spokesperson on water. The first one I noted covered in the media this morning was his claim that politics is being used for the distribution of water projects. That is abject nonsense. And that is easily provable, and I will read through some projects, and I'm sure you'll know the communities and know that they do not support in elections the government of the day. The first one, and I'm bringing it up here, is a project that will be funded by the Caribbean Development Bank. Jamaica will this year go to market for $5 billion of contracting services to do projects that include the areas of Agwater, Vale, and Jordan Run. Now that water system will serve all of Central St. Mary and Southeast St. Mary, which currently sit on the opposition benches by way of members of Parliament. We will also, in that project, be doing work in Mason Hall. We'll be doing work in Albert Town and Ulster Springs, Southern Trelawney. But we will also be developing a major system in Union, in Balaclava, in Northeast St. Elizabeth, which also sits with the opposition. We'll be developing the Port Morant Erie Castle water system in Eastern St. Thomas, which doesn't sit with the government of the day. And we'll be developing the Green Park water system, which is a system that connects both Northwest, Northeast, and yes, Southeast St. Anne, which is the only constituency that has never sat with this current administration. So yes, we are developing a lot of water systems, but the projects are equally shared. The point was made around the number of capital projects, but it left out a critical element. The 2 largest capital projects underway in the water sector benefit all Jamaicans. They're nation-building projects. The first is the Western Resilience Project, which was a source of much discussion. That project, you'll recall, will see a pipeline run from Martha Brae all the way to the opposition spokesperson's constituency in Western Westmoreland. That will connect with a major distribution main, 2 water treatment plants. One at Great River, which is on the boundary of Hanover Eastern and, of course, the western side of St. James, and the other, which is the Martha Brae treatment plant. Now, the last time I checked the budget, we are spending $11 billion this year on this project. The last time I looked at the map, that pipeline will run through Eastern Hanover, Western Hanover, and Western Westmoreland. I can't imagine how such a ludicrous statement could be made when $11 billion is being spent and 3 of the constituencies that will benefit the most are indeed held by the opposition. It's nonsense, and it should be rebuffed as such. The other point which was raised, which needs to be addressed, was that we should re-look at the Western Resilience Water Project because there were sufficient sources in Westmoreland, being the Roaring River and the Carburetor River. The numbers quoted are accurate. Those are 2 of Jamaica's most productive water sources. But at the beginning of the presentation, it was said that what Jamaica needed was an integrated set of water systems, not systems set up individually. This project actually does that. So I'm happy to see that he actually supports what we're trying to achieve. This project interlinks the water systems, certainly this phase, of Logwood in Western Hanover, of Great River in Eastern Hanover, and goes as far as integrating the supply from Martha Brae. So he called for exactly what we are doing. But he left out, in mentioning the Roaring River supply, that a subset of this project, which is phase 2, will see the development of a water treatment plant in Roaring River, which will supply Savlamar, and we'll see from the southwest end of the island the interconnection, and you're starting to build your ring road of sorts of pipes coming around the tip of the island. So you'll be interconnecting water systems as far as White River on the boundary of St. Mary, St. Anne. You'll be building a new water treatment plant at Rio Bueno to facilitate the continued growth in northern Trelawney. You'll be interconnecting those systems from White River, Rio Bueno, Martha Brae, Great River, all the way to Roaring River. That's exactly what we're doing. The population currently and level of industrial activity, whether service-based in tourism or for development, would not justify an additional water treatment plant at the Carburetor River. You simply don't have enough consumers of same when we have completed this project to develop another water plant, treatment plant. What is needed in Westmoreland and Hanover, and is needed right across the country, is indeed significant upgrades of our distribution system. Our line losses, as is reported by the OU, are still hover in the range of 70%. It is why, as I have announced here on multiple occasions, we have gone to market for a national non-revenue water partner. And the World Bank is consulting with us on this project and assisting with the evaluation of our bidders. And we expect to appoint a contractor later this year. So, no, the project does not need further review. The project was endorsed by other things said by the member yesterday, and we are certain that what we're doing is indeed in the best interest of Western Jamaica with this water distribution main upgrade, with the upgrade of 2 water treatment plants at Martha Brae and Great River, and yes, with the construction of 2 new water treatment plants, one which will be at Roaring River, the other which will be at Rio Bueno. The final point that I'm addressing this morning was the call for the merger of NWC, NIC, Rural Water Supply Limited, and the Water Resources Authority. I would encourage anyone reporting on this to take a glance at the legislation associated with the NWC and the legislation associated with the Water Resources Authority. If you understand the function of the Water Resources Authority, you understand that it is both a monitoring agency from a scientific perspective that evaluates the health of our water sources, but it's also a regulator. I am at pains to understand how a regulator could merge with a utility. If you figure it out, I would be happy to have a discussion with you because it is simply not possible from my understanding. The other issue to be understood is that the NIC is in charge of irrigation. It distributes water through canals, untreated water. Merging an institution that is in charge of potable water and wastewater management with an institution that is in charge of distributing untreated water creates its own hazards. And there are models of failure in other countries, which is the reason why Jamaica has kept them apart. The other entity is Rural Water Supply Limited. Rural Water Supply Limited, from your understanding, is the engineering core that is responsible for social water in this country, meaning it develops water systems that are then handed over to the municipalities that have no intent, no possibility of cost recovery. Meaning you build water catchment systems in districts that are outside of the utility footprint, or in some cases cannot afford to connect to the utility and pay a fee, so that you facilitate water access as this country has committed to providing to all of its citizens. So it is not a utility. If you figure out how to merge them, I'm open to the discussion. But I think the call was hollow and lacked intellectual rigor. Ladies and gentlemen, those are my brief remarks this morning. And if there are any questions from members of the media, they can reach out to me and my team, and we'll respond throughout the course of the day. I do have to leave. And of course, I hate leaving when Minister Bartlett is presenting, so I'll be watching on YouTube. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Minister Samuda. And for the young people who are here, you understand why I love having him. He's a very good minister. He understands his portfolio very well, and he can articulate it really, really well, and he can counter what others have to say in terms of critique. And that's really what you want to have in a minister, someone with that kind of intellectual rigor. And I guess we all learned it from the next guest that we have, the one that we are so happy about having here at PostCab. His role is not a domestic role. His role is to bring the tourists to Jamaica. And he has done fantastic at that. So he's all over the world selling this country. And for me, it's an honor to be able to introduce him here at Post Cabinet so that he can talk to Jamaica again about all the wonderful things that he and his team have been doing. So please welcome the Honorable Ed Bartlett.
Thank you so much, Minister Dr. Dana Morrison, and the convener of these very valuable post-cabinet sessions that bring clarity to many issues and elucidate so much that might have been obscured by the very term she used, the rigors of cabinet deliberations, which are sometimes very long and extended and long-winded. But very committed to the purpose. And indeed, one thing we can assure is that the cabinet spends an enormous amount of time and effort and energy to ensure that we get it right. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak further on the presentation that I made yesterday with regards to the tourism economy that we are creating and the structures that are critical to enabling a tourism economy to emerge, relating primarily to the human capital development necessities, the physical infrastructure that is required in terms of enabling carrying capacity to secure that when visitors do come to the island, they feel safe, secure, and the process of their movement around the island is as seamless as possible. And then to ensure that there is a community space that enables for this level of safety and security as well. And how do we build out, what kind of architecture is required to build out the community spaces, and how do we enable communities themselves to become deeply ingrained in the tourism value chain to ensure that the retention of the earnings of tourism are in the economy in full and certainly reflected in the communities by way of their own enrichment. The building out of the human capital development side is central. We spend a lot of time and energy on that. We recognize that tourism, by its very nature, does have a high quotient of unskilled, semi-skilled labor, so that the workforce, the current workforce of tourism, tend to reflect the lower value added end of the remuneration structure. And what do we do to change that? And it's a very important part of what creating a tourism economy is all about. And to do that is based on two critical things. One, to create merit within a system of meritocracy, to enable the worker to be sufficiently qualified, certified, and competent, so that that level of certification can result in classification and then remuneration in relation to classification. And so we've been working on that. We established the Jamaica Center for Tourism Innovation in 2017, which is a pathway certification facility that enables competent workers who are not certified to become certified on the job. And we've linked with the American Hotel and Lodging Institute and the American Culinary Foundation to enable the quality of those certifications to be able to have mobility, and not just portability, but also mobility, to enable our workers to move from any part of the world with stackable credentials so that they can stand on their own and be remunerated accordingly. And then we have to think about the whole labor market arrangements. And how do we influence that to change the way that people feel about their jobs in the industry, how secure they feel, how committed they are, and the level of confidence and trust that they will have. And so we looked at the ecosystem around and how do we provide, firstly, social security. And we developed a world-class, one-of-a-kind tourism workers' pension scheme. And in 2.5 years, we have had 10,548 members, and we are now tipping 6 billion Jamaican dollars in savings by the workers. And this is expanding, and it will one day will be the largest pool of affordable capital in Jamaica to enable investment in infrastructure and many other areas for us to build schools, hospitals, and other such things. The second area after is housing. And we spend a lot of time working through that. The Tourism Enhancement Fund started that process by providing the first $1 billion for infrastructure development in unregulated communities. There's another colloquial expression for that, which we don't use very regularly in tourism. It's an S word, and we don't use it very much. But these are communities where the occupants and the personnel within those areas are workers of the tourism industry. But the conditions under which they live are inimical to a better appreciation of the palatial settings within which they work. And so we had to create some opportunity to bring the two closer together. And so we started out with Bel Air in St. Ann and White Hall, in Negril, and Grange Pen in St. James. We also did Lilliput, we did Flanker, we did Norwood. And all those areas we went in, first of all, to create a better road network, and in some instances, water supplies and electricity. But perhaps the best and most significant statement that we've made in this regard is the Grange Pen development, where we actually bought 250 acres of brownfield and greenfield areas from FinSAC, the Tourism Enhancement Fund, and we have spent over $1 billion to rehabilitate the brownfield areas. It's 95% completed now, and what we have done is to put in roads in everywhere, electricity in every corner, water supplies, and sewage arrangements. And finally, to provide 535 titles for the 535 families that are in that area. So we are going beyond that now. In the Greenfield area, where there are 98 acres, we're building 1,500 houses through HAJ, and they have completed a JV with Czech. And we're expecting to break ground for that in September, 1,500 houses for the workers of the tourism industry. Just a little beyond that at Barrett Hall, NHT has already broken ground, and the work has started for 1,500 houses also within that area. So the workers were looking at new housing arrangements for about 3,000 in total, but we are requiring every single investor who comes to Jamaica and builds hotels larger than 500 rooms must have a housing component for the workers. And so far, we have seen the hoteliers responding well. Palladium is building 1,000 more suites, and they're building 600 units for the workers. Princess has already a facility for 500 workers. Excellence is adding 100 new units, and a number of new investors have actually purchased land already. The Hard Rock, colloquially called Hard Rock, but it's really Unico, they have bought lands for housing. Palladium, Moon Palace, which is also, they have also bought lands. Iberia Star, they bought lands. So we are seeing that this whole idea of enabling a worker environment that is more conducive to high levels of productivity and greater security of the worker is emerging. So what is intended, I will speak about in a minute when I get into Tourism 3.0, because the outcomes of which I spoke earlier were in the second phase of tourism's development. The first phase, as I indicated yesterday, was, let's say, 1955, when the Tourist Board Act was promulgated and we established the Jamaica Tourist Board as a central organizing unit for tourism development in the country. And then we started with some of the pioneers like Abe Issa and John Pringle and so on, and they did marvelously well to establish Jamaica, then as the playground, as they call it, for the rich and the famous. But that was good, and it set the stage and created brand Jamaica in a sense, and made the people of the world recognize that tourism can happen in Jamaica. Well, after the 80s, because tourism began to grow, and we reached, I think, 227,000 stopover arrivals in 1962. And then we started to make tourism now a driving force for job creation and employment. But we had a setback in the 70s, and that whole process was derailed a bit. We came back in the 80s with energy and strength, with establishing tourism for the first time as a ministry under the leadership of Anthony Abrahams, who is the first minister of tourism properly in Jamaica's history. And then the late Honorable Hugh Hart became the second minister of tourism. And tourism really took off in the 80s. It continued in the 90s, and in the 90s into early 2000, we saw massive expansion in the tourism, particularly in terms of inventory. New hotels came. We saw the expansion of the all-inclusive concept in a big way. And then we established institutional arrangements to support this. The TPDCO was established. The Tourism Enhancement Fund was established. And we saw also that JAMVAC took on some energy as a driving force for airlift security in the country. So all of that took us into an era when we established KPIs like 5 by 5 by 5, and that we achieved in the main, notwithstanding the disruptions, of COVID, which brought tourism to zero, and we grew after that exponentially, and then came Beryl, and then now Melissa, and with all of those disruptions, plus the geopolitical disruptions that are around, wars and other types of health disruptions that we've had, notwithstanding that, we made $4.7 billion US in earnings, 4.3 million in visitor arrival within that period of 5 years. So that we have become a 4 billion destination. But the time has come for us to move beyond that. And that segment we called Tourism 2.0. The time has come now for us to move into another space. We have 20,000 new rooms to be built over the next 10 years. We've actually started the construction of that already. Just in the Lilliput Rose Hall area of St. James, there will be 6,000 new rooms. 2-3 casinos that will be within this space from Green Island to Trelawney. Expansion in terms of villas and apartments. The emergence of the sharing economy has created a new dimension to accommodation for visitors across Jamaica. Today, the so-called Airbnb, as is referred to, constitutes some 30% of all the visitors who come to Jamaica, with a large portion of the foreign exchange generation being ascribed to them. So managing and enabling the development of all of these in the future has to be considered. We want to look at now how to treat with the new workforce that is going to emerge as a result of technology, AI, and all the cognitive systems that are now influencing the experiences of tourism and the arrangements around tourism. So we have to think through how do we create the capacity of our people to respond to these new developments, and not just that, but to grow and to enable the economic development of our country. And so Tourism 3.0 seeks to bring all of that into focus under a new set of KPIs of 10 by 10 by 10, meaning to achieve 10 million visitors, earn $10 billion over the next 10 years. And because we did 5 by 5 by 5, we think we have the credibility to go to 10 by 10 by 10, because we have now the inventory that will allow for that. The airlift arrangements have been phenomenal in terms of how Jamaica has become connected with destinations all around. We are now looking at new markets. We're diversifying extensively. South America has become a very, very powerful new frontier for tourism for us. Already we have the US, which is very strong, Canada, which is very strong, the UK, that is very strong. Now South America is taking on the next strength, and then we move beyond that to the Middle East, to Asia. India in particular has an enormous capacity for tourism, outbound tourism. We see that they have over 100 million middle class now capable of moving around, and they spend. That's the important thing. They have large weddings, and they spend a long time when they come, so that's very important for us. So what am I indicating to you, therefore, is that the need then for a new architecture is evident. And that is going to be realized by some 10 pillars that we have established. And yesterday I spoke a bit about them. And today I want to just quickly reiterate, because I think it is important that we recognize the new architecture that is being developed around tourism and the significance of enabling us to be able to drive the level of support that is required in this regard. Firstly, is to build out your marketing architecture. Marketing is our business. That's what we do. And that the Jamaica Tourist Board is fully responsible for. And Donovan and his team have gone out to create the frame for that already. I mentioned to you about South America, about India, about the Middle East, and also about Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe is a big area that we have to look at. So market diversification is the number one pillar. The second is cruise access and visitor conversion. And so far, we have recovered fairly well with cruise. This year we're expecting 1.5 million cruise passengers, which is very close to our best ever. The discussions, and I say no more than that for this time, the discussion with our partners is angling towards a cruise expansion and development in Jamaica that will be unprecedented. And when I mentioned the 10 by 10, cruise is going to play a big role in enabling that 10 million visitors to come to Jamaica. We'll have more to say on that. Then the issue of maritime tourism is going to be very seriously engaged by us. With NARA, we plan to build out Lucy as the maritime tourism center with pleasure boats and yachting, and very extensive work is being done on that. The MAJ, Maritime Association of Jamaica, Authority of Jamaica, sorry, is working with us in terms of that build-out. The third one is destination upgrading and climate resilient infrastructure. And here we are focusing on our townships, building out beach attractions, public spaces, drainage, signage, sanitation, lighting, digital system, environmental assets, and also to ensure that the towns, we're working with NARA in this regard, and they're going to play a big role, NARA, in enabling the product, the tourism product, to take on a new life. And one of the big things that we're trying to do is to move the tourism assets further inland for resilience, so that we'll be building more in parishes. We will be identifying what are the special assets in each parish, and then to build out the capabilities in those parishes to be able to attract more visitors, so that the coastlines are going to be as low density tourism as possible. We have already missed the boat in part with that, with the mega structures that we have, particularly along the north coast. But certainly the south coast, which is a new frontier for development, will see less density and more activity in the inner parishes and the rural communities. The fourth pillar will be the establishment of the local first and economic retention. Now, local first is the principle of enabling capacity of our people, Jamaicans, to drive the supply side of tourism and to strengthen their ownership of the industry. The current situation is where the equity balance is something like 70-30 in favor of foreign investment. Tourism 3.0 envisages a 60-40 distribution, so that at least 40% own locally. And if we own 40% of a $10 billion US dollar activity, you understand where we're going in terms of the retention of the tourism dollar in our space. The local first policy is now being finalized. The cabinet has already approved the concept notes and given instruction for, is it the green or white paper, PS? For the policy development to be done, and that Minister Tova Hamilton is responsible for completing that. She's going to be doing extensive consultation with stakeholders across the island to ensure that this policy embraces all of our key players and does provide the basis for the capacity building of our local is critical, because we talk about importing and stop importing. But we can't stop importing if we don't have the capacity to supply. And we have not had that culture. We have a culture of samples. We have great samples, lovely samples. When we have Christmas in July and so on, we see wonderful samples of products and so on. But we need to scale up. And so we need to bring investors into the play. We need to bring our bankers into the business. The whole capital market has to converge around the building out of the supply side of tourism. So we are going to be establishing for the first time, and this now is on leg 5, the Tourism Logistics Supply Center. And this is going to be in a special economic zone, so that what will happen is that the local players as well as international players will have a chance to develop not just a warehousing facility for goods and services, but now to deal with procurement, to deal with packaging, to deal with freight and insurance and all that is necessary to have goods secure in Jamaica for the tourism industry, and also to be able to nearshore to other islands in the Caribbean and in the region as a whole. So in discussions with the Caribbean Tourism Organization and the IDB and some of our international partners, there is an understanding that the need for logistics supplies center is not just a Jamaican need, it's a regional need. And Jamaica has been asked to spearhead that, and I'm chairing the subcommittee, the ministerial subcommittee on the supply side for tourism in the region, and already it is agreed that the first logistics center will be established here in Jamaica in our special economic zone. So we're excited about that as a prospect. What it will do is to bring agriculture and manufacturing and the whole industrial side, creative industries and so on, all together, so that we can provide the supplies that is needed, reducing the leakage of foreign exchange generated by tourism, not just in Jamaica, but in the region. The sixth one, of course, is the future-ready worker and human capital development. I spoke extensively about that earlier on, so I just want you to know that it is the sixth pillar. The seventh pillar, the seventh pillar is technology. Is about now creating credentials that build progressively to certify real competence and unlock new employment and advancement opportunities across the sector. The objective is not technology for technology's sake, as we said. The objective is to better service, stronger confidence, and higher employability and greater upward mobility for the Jamaican workers. Our housekeepers, for example, must know that technology can improve workflow and safety. That concierge must know that AI can support faster information. but cannot replace the warm Jamaican hospitality. We want our workers and our partners all to be conversant with the cognitive systems, to manipulate them and to utilize them for greater efficiencies, so that Jamaica's tourism can be, those three S's again, safe, secure, and seamless. One of the things that we've led the region in technology is access to our ports of call, where we are the first country in the Caribbean to have facial recognition at the airport. And in addition to all of that, we have these e-gates that allow for seamlessness as you move through. So we're moving to enable a wider perspective. I'm closing at that point because we will have an opportunity to talk about the enabling legislations that will constitute the next 3 pillars of the 10 that we're talking about. We'll be establishing the Jamaicas, for the first time, we'll be establishing a new authority for tourism. And that will be resulting from the repealing of the Jamaica Tourist Board Act and also the River Rafting Act, and then to create the new Tourism Authority Act and to establish the Tourism Authority. Now, the Tourism Authority is not just about creating another layer of bureaucracy. It is about creating the institutional.
And our hearts to the correct and wise provisions that are required to help our children. Give us the grace to understand the nuances of each provision and the experiences that have been had. Bless this committee. Through Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Julia. We only have one apology for absent today from Minister Dana Morris, so we're expecting most members to be in attendance during the course of the day. Quite a few members I have spoken to, they will be here shortly. And I think we have 2 members on line. I think Senator Donna Scott Motley and Senator Shireen Golden Campbell. Okay, so we do have a quorum. There are 5 members. Well, first of all, we took a break, and my hope is that we will be able to meet today and tomorrow. But I don't know if we had circulated to members of the House, and not many people indicated that they'll be able to be here tomorrow. The 2 members who are in the House, MP Cuthbert and Buchanan, will you be able to be here tomorrow at 10 o'clock? All right, so we're going to have a difficulty. We'll check further. It means, you see, I was hoping that we would really finish up deliberations and by the end of June, which would be next week, I mean today and tomorrow. But it looked like we may be stretched. And when I spoke to Minister Dixon, quite a few other persons, they do have graduation during the month of June. So we may well have to take a part of July, because we really would like a report to be tabled, to complete the child diversion, and a report to be tabled and any amendments to be dealt with in the new